So in this video, I wanted to talk about I got a cheat skill in another world and became unrivaled in the real world too, because I've seen a lot of people been discussing about this is generic, this is boring, it's just the same old, but one of the things that I want to discuss about is that not every anime is of course going to be made for everyone, so of course that is one thing I constantly try to remind people that at the end of the day, if you don't like something, that's perfectly fine, but one of the things I do see quite prevalently is people with this attitude of you can't like something they don't like, so you have to have exactly their taste, otherwise you're this inferior human. If that's your attitude towards animes, you are the problem with the anime community, not anyone else. If you don't like something, that's perfectly fine, move on, find something you do. But there is an interesting discussion to be made, because I've seen people throughout the anime seasons, and this is a common thing when it comes to isekais and power fantasies, and also rom-coms and harems as well. I've seen this problem crop up really quite frequently, is this whole idea of new ideas and the same old bread and butter copy-paste style story when it comes to isekais or power fantasies or just rom-coms and all that, but specifically when it comes to isekais. Because with isekais, a lot of the normal generic ones as seen from the anime community are those kind of reincarnated in an alternative world, has suddenly gone from sort of a middle age or younger than that to suddenly a young teen that has got a bunch of girls fondling over them, and they've got all these super overpowered abilities, and they're able to just roll through life very easily with these very powerful abilities and all these girls chasing, and it's just an easy going story. That is what is known as the bread and butter of the power fantasy isekai, along with the one complaint also is that every city is just a round city that has a river going through it and it all looks the same. But that complaint is honestly the silliest one, because every city in medieval times was made like that, because one, rivers were important because it allowed for transportation up and down rivers for commercial reasons, trading reasons, and also fishing. And of course, one thing that people needed is clean water, and back in the medieval times you didn't have big pipes pumping across from town to city, so of course people would live near rivers. Defenses would be walls, and of course the easiest way to defend a city is to have a round wall going around a city. That's why they're all designed the same. It's not because animators are lazy. I mean, it is an easy way to cut a corner, but it is also just the fact that a lot of cities were built like that. Of course there are exceptions to the rule, but to complain about that, it's kind of a little bit silly, and it's just a running meme that's constantly going on Twitter or other social media platforms. But the thing mentioned is this whole idea of just being reincarnated, easygoing life, harem style. And I can understand why some people want something different. But the problem is as soon as we get something different, whether it's something like Mushoku Tensei, where it's a bit more of a grounded story, where you've got a main protagonist who is overcoming trauma, overcoming their past travesties, and kind of rebuilding their lives, some could see that as kind of the same formula, but what I felt was interesting was that trauma aspect. And then you've also got other ones, of course, like Overlord, where it's the main protagonist is not the hero, is in fact a villain in this very much dark, gritty world where they're just completely dominating, and yes, got a bunch of NPCs and characters fondling over the individual, but just the different spin to it. Instead of it being a goody-good, it is seen as a more villain-style character. You got Tanya the Evil, don't need to explain anymore there. That's a very interesting different concept to a power fantasy and an isekai. And then, of course, cheat skill in another world. As much as, yes, there are some things you could say that are generic, the harem aspect, the overpoweredness, the stud muffin like he's gone from overweight, being able to suddenly become lean and fit. The thing that I do enjoy is that balance between the real world and the isekai world, and him balancing between the two. I don't see that very often. Now, it isn't the newest concept because it has been done before. There are many animes out there that have balanced and tried these ideas, and I'm sure there'll be new animes out there that will also try this idea as well, but it's not the most common one. And I think one of the reasons why it's not super common is because it does add an extra element to the story that can add a lot of confusion. And also, one thing that anime and some light novel fans and manga fans do is they find one part of the story they just don't really care about, and they go, well, I don't want any more of that. And definitely it can be seen as the whole idea of, well, all they care about is the isekai world, so just focus on the isekai story and ignore the real world. So there's those things where you've got to try and make the story engaging from the isekai world and the real world and try and keep the audience going. And I've read the first 2 volumes, and I think the story premise is interesting, how he balances between the two, but I can definitely understand why some people might not enjoy it, where they might just feel it's a little bit too formulaic. I can understand that. Right now, as far as I was going into the story with the 2 volumes, I didn't think that, but again, things might change as I go further into the volumes. Whether I read further in or not, that will be decided at a later date. But I do like these concepts, and I do want to see these things more, so I don't think it's a bad thing. I do enjoy cheat skill in another world. What I do find funny though is some people that really like smartphone have been praising that and then hating on cheat skill, which I find a little bit weird, especially being that the complaints for cheat skill is that he's super overpowered and has all these girls after him, which smartphone kind of has the same thing. It's just a different style of story and different focuses, but I think they both have their own unique story and unique way of doing things that some fans like and don't like. And especially with smartphone, where of course in the name itself it's a character bringing a smartphone to this alternative world. It's the same thing with another anime that just recently aired as well, Reincarnated as a Sword. I really like the concept where the main character is sort of 50-50 spotlight with another character that is wielding the sword. The isekai protagonist is reincarnated as a sword, is being wielded by an individual from the isekai world, and they're building this relationship and going through all these different challenges, and just seeing the power on the individual wielding the weapon and the weapon itself and their character development is just something that I really enjoy. And so I always look forward to new isekais that try and do something different, because it's all you can ask for. At least the authors try something. Of course, you have those situations like washing machine one where it's reincarnated as a washing machine, and some people just think that's too silly. But at the end of the day, when almost anything has been tried, you've got slimes, or reincarnated as a slime, reincarnated as a spider, reincarnated as a sword. There is other ones out there like reincarnated as like some idol as well, I believe. There's some pretty wacky ones out there. I can't say too many of them, because some of them that are really insane would get me demonetized. And I mean, yeah, there's some pretty wacky ones out there, like reincarnated as a vampire that sucks not blood, but I'm gonna lie here, milk. You'll get what I mean when I say I'm lying, but you'll get what I... Just take the hint, okay? So yeah, there's some pretty crazy things out there. And for those asking what the name of that is, I can't remember. It's a really long time ago. But there's just some really crazy stuff out there. And I enjoy it. I definitely think it's an enjoyable experience to see those different types of isekais out there. Are they all going to be done perfectly? Who knows? Some are done perfect, some are done well, some are not so done well, based on personal opinions, but I at least commend people for trying to do something different. At the end of the day, I would rather them try and do something different and fail or succeed than just to see the same generic thing completely copy-paste and they just seem okay, but you never get those gems because they all just try to do the exact same thing. So I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think? Again, if you like this video, hit the like, subscribe, and I'll see you beautiful nerds in the next video.